Hi friends, good to see you again. I hope you're having a good Tuesday, and I hope you're here passionate to keep seeking forth and going after God's things and finding His peace and understanding where we need it most. So here's the weather word for Tuesday. The main weather map feature is the low and cold front sweeping across the country, bringing big changes finally. And it will be the one feature of note all week, really, and so the keynote. Now, today it's in the southern plains, and that's where there's been a lot of talk of severe weather, so let's look at that. I do want to be honest, and you should know I'm one to usually downplay and say, hey, here's the things that make me say not so much risk. But I do want to be honest and say, I think the main ingredients for severe weather are there tonight. There's moisture and a bit of temperature so that there's instability, and there's a lift of a strong cold front, or the dry line ahead of the cold front, lifting storms, and then there's also quite a lot of wind in the low levels, a lot to make rotation possible. Now, that's in a limited corridor. The instability will fade later in the night as it goes to the eastern Oklahoma, and the lift will fade some because it gets too far ahead of the system, and the wind shear is kind of here and there. It's not everywhere, but I think there's enough, to be honest, that there could be some severe weather tonight. Now, what am I talking? Not real worried about much in the way of hail, and severe winds, there'll be some, and I don't want to make those sound like they're nothing, but usually everybody pays more attention to the tornado warnings, and I think there is the potential tonight for a few, maybe 3 to 5 to maybe even 10 tornado warnings across a large region. I'm not saying you're going to see, all these tornado warnings right in your area, because the whole point is these are embedded squall line tornadoes if they happen. This isn't big supercells where just with the worst of stuff where you see the mean giant tornado footage. This is the weaker stuff usually. Now, because the ingredients are there tonight, it could be a little more of the high end, the more lasting features in these. It's still not the stuff that's going to affect everyone and be really widespread catastrophe, I don't think. But I think compared to other nights recently, the ingredients are there for a little while in parts of Oklahoma and Texas that it's worth paying attention to. So if you're not one of those if you're one of those who just kind of, it's just a squall line, it's not a supercell, it's worth paying attention to, especially at night. Now, on the other hand, it's isolated areas. It's a few little spots, not everywhere. So I don't want you to panic. It's going to be in and out in one sweep pretty much through the entire region. And we'll have I think there is some warning on squall line tornadoes. I know they kind of pop up and they're like whack-a-moles, but there's parts of the line that are more favored and parts that are less favored. Now, I do want to point out there are hopes for this to be a less significant event. If some cool air pushes ahead of the line, which often happens with squall lines, and there's some indications that could be favored because of some weaker winds in kind of the mid-levels. If that happens, it would undercut all the storms, and we'd go from, we got to watch these, to, hey, I think we're in the clear in most spots. So that's one thing. Another thing is it'll still be isolated areas. It'll be where the line kinks. It's not going to be, there's a warning here and here and here and here and here. It'll be a few little spots that we can kind of see, okay, that area is the area we got to watch more closely. So I don't want to say, hey, you're going to have a rough night. And I know for Oklahoma City people, it's been so rough recently. Every time we have a little setup, they're the one area that gets it. But you got to realize, odds are still you do well tonight. You do fine. Odds are you don't get a warning in most places. Some people, I think, probably will get a warning or two tonight as this pushes through quickly. And so I want you to pay attention to that. Kind of late evening. I think there hasn't been enough attention given to that aspect of it in that area. In fact, I wanted to show you where I think the potential is the greatest, looking at where the ingredients overlap, and also the models kind of consistently push heavier storms through this area. I think the area mostly to watch is far southern Oklahoma, North Texas, kind of the Red River area, maybe Dallas, maybe Oklahoma City and Chickasha, maybe not. It's a little kind of north end, not so much. I think the highlight area is more like Ardmore and Gainesville, Texas, and the US, I think that's US 80 corridor, North Texas, and maybe west of Dallas, even a little southwest of Dallas. That's the area where a lot of storms seem to be happening and where the shear vector kind of points to me that we could see a few of those bow echo tornado warnings that quick moving and maybe kind of here and there, but that's my highlight area where I think it's most likely to see tornado warnings. Now, probably there's going to be one or two kinks in the line further north, up into central Oklahoma and northern Oklahoma. Also, I didn't put it on the map, but maybe down into central Texas if the storms get going. It's a little more of a question mark down there. So those are areas we watch too. And again, the potential is there. There's still factors that say this might not happen like it looks like. It's just, hey, I want you to be paying attention. We'll get through it one day at a time. We're going to handle this. You've gone through this before and you've made it through. So let's just hang strong. We can do this. But just want to let you know the potential's there. Now, looking ahead as the low progresses further east, tomorrow it's into Arkansas. The front's clearing all of Texas. Real kind of change in the weather there, and it'll continue. It's kind of it'll start to cool and then it'll continue to cool as the next few days go. But there is some storm chance again along the Gulf Coast, so maybe we talk about that tomorrow. And then as we go into Thursday, it's actually the front surges east. It clears the East Coast, the East Coast and the southern half of the U.S., clears Florida mostly. Again, they're talking storms. The Storm Prediction Center has a slight risk already up for Florida on Thursday. Because the low is kind of wrapped back up around Missouri and not surging east with the system or southeast, and there's an occluded front rather than all the energy being in one area, I'm hopeful, I'm leaning towards not as significant of a severe weather threat in Florida as some events. Now, we'll see, things change, and so I'm just giving you an early note on that because it has been, I've seen a few meteorologists talk about it, and we're in the risk area because there'll be some moisture with this. This has a lot of oomph, there's a lot of moisture ahead of it, and it's a strong cold front pushing through, and so we'll watch all these areas. But there's hopes that this is mainly the last storm system over a large part of the country. We'll see them again in the south over time, but through the winter. But I've said it yesterday and I'm saying it today. I'm hoping this is it for big severe weather setups or anything like that. I'm hoping there won't be another risk in Oklahoma the rest of the year of any type, except for winter stuff, freezing and stuff. But not even that too much. Now, as the week goes past, as we go beyond the next 3 days, that low, as we talked about yesterday, parks kind of over kind of the Appalachian region, and so we continue to get cool air. I talked to somebody yesterday in Florida. It doesn't look like we're going to have highs above the low-ish 80s for the next week or more, because that cool air keeps coming through in Oklahoma and the southeast. This is the change everybody's been looking for. On the weather map, there are a couple other small, quick features to note. In the northeast, there's a low today into tomorrow morning up over, just affecting New York. It's the previous low that passed across the country, and it's just kind of hanging on across the northeast, so bringing a bit more rain. Pretty rainy, actually, but heading out to sea. Some indications it may become tropical, but it's heading out to sea, so nothing to worry about there. And then the next system coming into Oregon, Washington, British Columbia Thursday. I don't think it's going to make as much progress because there's still that low spiraling in the east that's going to be kind of stuck there all week into the weekend. And so I'm not looking at this to be the next one that sweeps through the country. It'll kind of reinforce some things, but more rain for the Pacific Northwest, so that's good to see. And beyond that, like I said, looks like we're calming down, looks like we're cooling down, looks like it's more fall, and not seeing anything in the tropics or anything like that. So if we can get through this one, we can be doing good. From the Word, I wanted to look at James chapter 5, the first part of that. And it starts out with a call, and I'm going to read this part, a call to people who are doing wrong. It says, "Go to now, ye rich men, weep and howl for your misery, that shall come upon you. Your riches are corrupted, and your garments are moth-eaten. Your gold and silver is cankered, and the rust of them shall be a witness against you, and shall eat your flesh as it were fire. Ye have heaped treasures together for the last days. Behold, the hire of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud, crieth. And the cries of them which have reaped are entered into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth. You've lived in pleasure on the earth and have been wanton. You've nourished your hearts as in a day of slaughter. You've condemned and killed the just, and he does not resist you. So there's a lot of conviction in that, of what these wrong people are. And I do want to point out, this is a message to a lot of people, and God was kind of speaking to me last night. This isn't just a message for bosses, because it's talking about your laborers have done this and you haven't paid them well. It's a much broader message. It's a message to people, because the laborers, the other places in the New Testament especially, it talks about the laborers being the people of God, the people of Christ who are spreading the ministry. So if you're a person who you have lived in pleasure on the earth and been wanton and have nourished your hearts, kind of just been all about satisfying yourself, and you have hurt the people who've labored and fought for the things that matter, I think this is calling out to a larger people. God kind of put that on my heart. So, woe to you. This is a message to many people. Now, on the other hand, I want to focus in on those who are being repressed and oppressed and struggling and being taken advantage of. Because there's a key word here. It says, or a key idea, and it really opens my heart. The cries of them which have reaped and are entered into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth. I love that. Entered in. It's such a like an active thing. It's like writing a letter to the president. Does the president respond? Does the president respond? Does he get that letter? And then he gets that letter. And you know, or the boss of the company, it's, does the person who has the power hear? And you wonder. But it says it enters in, it's heard. We know we're heard. And not only that, it's the Lord of Sabaoth. It's the Lord, I've kind of skipped over that verse, but it's the Lord of hosts, the Lord of the army, the leader. He's got us. Now, there's a couple more verses for us believers that are kind of to finish it. Be patient, therefore, brethren, unto the coming of the Lord. Behold, the husbandman waits for the precious fruit of the earth, and hath long patience for it, until he receives the early and the latter rain. I love that image, because I've had to wait for rain, like at the golf course. I remember you just have to wait out the rain. It would just take forever. Or waiting for seeds to germinate. It's this real long process, but look at that. God is the God of timing. You have to wait out all the different stages, but like the farmer, wait it out. And the next verse says, be also patient, establish your hearts, for the coming of the Lord draws nigh. Establish. I like that, because it's saying it to you. It's the same word. It's establish. Establish your hearts. It's telling us to do it. But it's saying, go after it. And I see it going back to Matthew 15 from yesterday. Know who you are. Stand in who you are. Be strong in who you are. So I want to encourage you. God's got this. Be strong. Keep after it. He hears your prayer. And he's going to stand up. He draws nigh. Establish your hearts. I want to encourage you today, if you're struggling with the weather, my final words to you are to look at Philippians 4, 6 through 7. And I'm running out of video time, so I'm going to just post it as a comment. But I want to encourage you that tonight. Speak that over yourself if you're struggling with tonight. And overall, let's seek the peace. We can do this. God has got us. And I pray for your strength, and I pray that you keep strong and keep on going. Keep up the good fight. Love you guys. I should be on tonight with the severe weather, trying to speak peace over you. Let's keep after it. We're not done. We've handled this tough stuff before, and we're going to do it again. Stay strong in the Lord always. He is our King and our hope. Love you guys. Have a good night. Amen.